It is time for a best of 5 series of top level StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is the #1 Protoss player in the world going up against, well, either the #1 Terran or the #2. Spotting right here with the blue Terran SCVs. We're looking at none other than Maru's main command center and his opponent in the top left. I mean, honestly, in my mind, maybe he's the #1 Protoss, maybe he's the #2 with the red Protoss probes. We're looking at Heroes, main, and Nexus. Obviously, the argument could be made that maybe MaxSpecs is better than Hero. And I think it's fair to say that Clem is the superior player over Maru, but there's no denying that Maru is an absolute tournament monster. Now, this particular series was played during DreamHack Dallas. Like I said, it's a best of 5, meaning that the first player to win 3 maps, they will be the victor. And, well, since both of these players are ridiculously good and also very familiar with one another's playstyle, I'm expecting quite a bit of variety. This is one of those series that I haven't seen yet, so I'm excited to find out exactly what ended up going down. Now, there was one theme in the games that I did see during DreamHack Dallas, and that was Terran players going for all-ins. There were, well, especially during the first days of the event, there were a ton of Protoss versus Terrans that were played, a lot of best of 3s, and I want to say in about 80% of them, Terrans were just going for SCV pool after SCV pool after SCV pool. So they build up a bit of a base early on, they make a bunch of units, and then they pool all of the boys, and we go across the map. It seems that the vast majority of Terrans out there right now are not particularly confident playing a macro game against Protoss. We sort of see a similar approach as well in the Protoss versus Zerg matchup, where a lot of Zerg players are trying to get the game over with before Protoss can really get the game to go the distance. And yeah, we've been seeing similar vibes too. Now, that is a theme rather, for the majority of the players right below the absolute tippity top. So if we're looking at, for example, like Maru's Terran versus Protoss, or for example, Clem's Terran versus Protoss, they do occasionally go for SCV pools, but it doesn't seem to be as frequent as a lot of the pro gamers right below their level. So I'm not exactly sure what to expect from it, but I am sure that both Hero and Maru are well aware of those threats that have been popping up during this particular event. So far though, everything here is very normal. Are we gonna go for a Twilight? Yes, we are. No surprise there. Twilight Council into Blink is the gold standard. Although we did quite frequently actually during this same tournament also see Protoss players specifically go for Charge first. And Charge, of course, is really nice if you do expect that your opponent is gonna go for an all-in. So a little bit of variety. Can we get a probe? Yeah, we can get a probe, and it looks like... Okay. Dang. The Reaper Man fell out of the map. We are, by the way, on a map called Pylon. Very large in general. There's a couple of these bridges in the middle of the map. This was a map chosen to be added to the map pool for StarCraft 2 by the map makers themselves. So, out of all of the maps that were part of the Team Liquid map contest, we had one map that got decided by the map makers, and this is the one. Now, we do have a nice quick Cyclone here. The Cyclone has, of course, been very popular. It's extremely good in the earlier stages of this matchup. It's just going to be a single Cyclone, though. Maru hoping that he can maybe grab one of those units with ease. He decides to move very far forward, though. Okay, locks on onto the probe. Unfortunate there for Probius, but I do believe it's about time for the Cyclone to go home. Yeah. The dance here that Hero can execute is very dangerous, and these are not cheap units to be producing at this point in time. If you can get a kill, though, that would be absolutely massive. Gotta be careful that you don't accidentally body block your own units. Bit of a skill check. Not really getting a whole lot done, but maybe this Widowmine drop can actually achieve something. In the meantime, the Adept from earlier has made its way all the way back home. Back home on the Terran side of the map, that is, as we do have a good old follow-up here with more barracks and a starport as well with a tech lab. It's gonna be a Raven, okay. I quite like Raven, especially against a Twilight Council opener. And I do believe that Maru did have a glimpse of it. Well, at the very least, he knows right now. Widowmine drops are, of course, very good against this sort of start. Okay, there's the first Widowmine. Kills it with the workers. Probius is ready to sacrifice himself. Does not quite get the job done. And, well, now the Medevac gets to hang out over here in the corner of the map. Okay. Yeah, Raven is really nice. We've seen it a lot as of late. A lot of Terran players like to keep it around for a while, or sometimes even use it during one of the fights. Usually, though, you do start the game off against the Twilight Council opener specifically by sending it across the map, dropping a bunch of auto turrets, and then maybe keeping it around in the dead space in between the bases. Alternatively, you can send it home and actually use it in the main fight as well. Either way, third Nexus right now coming up here for Hero. He's following up Blink as well with Charge. And there is now a aggressive move into the main base as he gets one of the siege tanks. Picks up the weakened Stalker. Lovely work. Can we pick up one more? I think we will. No, he doesn't need to. He can just blink down to the low ground and... Ooh. Cut that lock on that the Cyclone had. Spicy. Widowmine drop. Careful, careful, careful. Perfect. Perfect control right here by Hero. Okay, lovely work. Very good control here by our Protoss player, who, by the way, is fresh off of a win, of course, from the GSL Code S. Auto turret, by the way, has now also arrived, but yeah, a bit of damage dealt, but not a ton. Hero, the first Protoss player in way too many years to win a Premier StarCraft 2 tournament. Oh, and he uses the Stalker over here to take one of the shots to the face as he is wasting one additional volley there. Could have split some of the damage. Auto turret is going to be planted down again over in the natural expansion. This is a pretty flimsy Protoss army, but he's apparently not done just yet. I love the pickup control there with the Prism. So much damage is being done. Another siege tank goes down. Sadly here for Hero, he's like one Stalker short to be able to one-shot those tanks. But this has still been a very effective early game aggression here for Hero, who's now got his third Nexus done. He'll be starting up a shield battery in that location too. And apparently we're just going to try and maximize the damage. Since I think there's only a single siege tank available. Yeah, another one is just about to pop. You can't possibly be everywhere at once as he gets another kill. Man, you love to see it. Excellent gameplay here by Hero. There is so much value to be gained out of these openers. And if you do it well, man, you might just be able to win the game, even against the highest ranked players on the planet. It's a flimsy start, but the value here of the Protoss units has been ridiculous. Like, this man expanded faster than the opponent and then still was the aggressor. Like, that goes... Oh my god. Oh, he gets Stimpak too. Yeah, that is a perfect beginning to a game of, well, Protoss versus Terran. What in the world do you do right now if you're Maru? So, you're behind economically. You're behind army-wise, or at least you're not in a comfortable spot army-wise, because you just lost one of your really big upgrades. Stimpak takes a long-ass time. Those Stalkers, I mean, I think you should probably just back up. There's really no reason to be out here in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's dangerous, is all it comes down to, right? If you micro everything well, I guess it's fine, but it's still so easy to accidentally overextend. Okay, we're gonna continue the aggression a little bit longer with 4 Stalkers and a Prism. You can always pick those units up and get on out of there. Yeah. So what do you do right now if you're a Terran player? Well, 2 options. Either you turtle up and you try to get a third Nexus or a third command center rather going very soon, or you go for like a anti-timing attack where you hit with whatever units you have when your upgrades finish up eventually. Sometimes those attacks can be very, very good. But I do believe that Maru needs to commit to something big, because the Protoss is going to, as he hits multiple supply blocks here, the Protoss is going to very rapidly outgrow him at this rate. Robo Bay is coming up. I mean, the third base is now fully saturated. Hero has already got 10 gateways at this point. I just saw 7 on the production tab, so he's gonna go for a 4th Nexus. If Maru does not address this soon, he is gonna get absolutely overwhelmed. Still though, this is a big Terran army. If we look at the army size, look at that. Maru may not have a whole lot of economy and he may not have invested into a whole lot of tech, but he does just have a whole lot of men with guns, and the men with guns are scary. Let's see. This is do or die, honestly, here for Hero, who is going for that classic play as he picks up. Ooh, he picked up and actually saved some of the Zealots there from the Widowmine. You love to see it, but I mean, honestly, this army is scary, and there are now indeed a bunch of SCVs in the mix. Has Hero gotten too greedy? Too much tech, too much economy, too many workers. He got some good force fields here, but Maru is just hitting him right now with the sledgehammer. And this is a frustrating spot right now here for our Protoss player, who's brought that Prism back home with the Zealots inside of it. Okay, 11 SCVs have died. Okay, Colossus is not going to pop out. Has Hero just thrown a game that was pretty much perfect? Margin for error, man, at this level of StarCraft is extremely small. And you always have to consider that Terran can just send everything they have across the map for one final Hail Mary play. Generally, it doesn't work. But it is certainly possible. Now we have the rest of the Protoss army actually on the other side of the map, trying to just cut off some of the reinforcements. Blinks after the medevac does get the job done. Natural expansion now of the Protoss, though, is already gone in the main base, and a lot of production here is not going to be far behind. Probes are going to get recalled, I'm assuming, yep, to that newly made Nexus in the top right. Terran is leaving the main base behind. Orbital command on the low ground. Natural expansion did not quite lift off in time. Widowmine is going to be blinked against, and you really would like to kill those structures, but of course, they are going to be difficult to reach when they are up in the air. And what a fantastic way to start a best of 5 series of this caliber. I mean, the entire minimap right now is blinking red. Both players are desperately trying to see if they can get this game done. I think those probes may have just betrayed a secret, though. I think they just showed to the Terran player that indeed there is another expansion out there. Probes are going to evacuate. We do have a worker out here already scouting what's going on. Zealots and a bunch of other units are left behind to kill whatever Terran structure can't fly. Maru has now killed the 3rd Nexus here of Hero. What about that base in the far top right? Hero does still have 800 minerals in the bank, and he's working on the, well, last remaining orbital command. With that orbital command falling, that'll be the end of any Terran economy. Okay, it's gone. A couple Stalkers did get sacrificed for it, so that's pricey, but there is not gonna be any additional income here for Maru for the remainder of the game. Hero needs to build up a Nexus, though, and it's gonna take a long time. This is gonna take, well, this is like a microwave minute over here, you know? Microwave minutes take like 3 times as long as a regular minute. Everybody knows that. Okay, Starport is still around. What armies do we have? Army-wise, look at this. Value-wise, it's near identical, but a slight advantage here for Terran. And Terran still has a lot of SCVs in the mix too. Hero, though, has more workers. He's got 36 probes versus 14 SCVs. We have a Prism, a lot of micro potential. What about the Raven anti-armor missiles? Okay, no, we're gonna go and drop down a couple of the auto turrets instead, but I think the army here for Maru is just a little bit too good. Nexus is not yet done. Probes are already gone. And what really was not looking like a Terran win whatsoever, I think Maru has navigated in the most brilliant way possible. This was pretty much an impossible start for the Terran. Like, nothing went his way at all. And he decided to just put all of his eggs in one basket and hope for the best. There's 1 probe remaining and 4 SCVs. 300 minerals, though, is not going to be enough to build a Nexus. They are 400 minerals each. There are 4 SCVs, but only 86 minerals. I mean, likewise, it's also 400 minerals right there for a command center. Maru is not going to be able to start up a base of his own. At this point, obviously, the Terran structures are off in the corner. And with these structures flying, there is never a way for Hero to win this game. The best he can hope for right now is a draw, but I just don't think he's got the numbers for it. I mean, he's using Blink on cooldown. At some point, he will run out of directions to run into. Win condition, of course, in a game of StarCraft 2 is to destroy all of your opponent's structures. So that is an alternative play right here for Maru. Raven, by the way, did end up falling there. I mean, maybe. If Hero can micro his way out of this, that would be absurd. Widowmine? Oh, that's a good snipe. He gets the Prism. Yeah. And I think with it, he gets the game. Those Stalkers are not going to be able to run forever. And I think at this point, Hero is processing the loss. He knows that this is not an army he can beat. Like I said, this was played during DreamHack Dallas, a $50,000 tournament, so you want to try your best and, well, obtain whatever victory possible. Yeah. At this point, it's really just a numbers game. I think Hero is thinking about what he could have changed, because this game went so incredibly well. What he could have changed, right, is delayed that 4th Nexus. We have a bit of a surround right now by Maru, who's done with it. GG. That game was never supposed to be a Maru win. Honestly, the early game was about as good as it could have been. Hero got a greedy 3rd Nexus. He ended up sniping like 4 or 5 siege tanks. He ended up delaying the Stimpack upgrade. You do have to compliment the tenacity right there, though, for Maru, right? Because ultimately, StarCraft 2, right? The way you got to think about the game is to constantly consider the different win conditions that you can come up with. And I think in that previous game, there was only one win condition that Maru could possibly exploit after losing everything at home. And that is to cross his fingers and hope that the opponent was too greedy. If Hero would have not gone for additional tech, if Hero would have not gone for a 4th Nexus, he would have had the resources to just make enough army and stop that force. But Hero decided to, just be as greedy as he possibly could be, and honestly, that was the only way that Maru could ever come back. Maybe if he would have gone into Storm, it would have been easier for him to hold. We've been seeing a lot of Storm plays specifically because of, again, those SCV pools. They're very, very strong. I hope for Hero's sake, though, that he can put himself behind that game, right? Because when you're starting off a series, you gotta always consider the momentum, right? It's very easy to fall off the horse, so to say, at this point here if you're Hero. You've already had a fantastic start and then you threw it away. I mean, I am garbage at that in my own games. When I start losing, when I grasp defeat from the jaws of victory, that's usually when I start losing even more. You gotta be able to mentally reset yourself there. Well, it is going to be good old Blink here once more. Not really a whole lot of build order variety here for our Protoss player. Terran in the meantime, though, also not really mixing it up too much. We have a Cyclone just about to pop out. Okay. Here we go. Can we get the lock on? He will get the lock on. Ooh, get him! Get him! Okay, recall once more. He gets it. He gets it. And this is now a much worse start for Hero than it was in the previous game. Very nicely microed here by Maru, who is immediately going to send now a medevac with whatever units he's got to watch the other side of the map. So it will be a Cyclone, 3 Marines. We have that Reaper from the early game too. Anything that he has, he would throw the kitchen sink right now at the opponent if it was a possibility. He'll just send it in and hope for the best. The micro potential, of course, of this army, though, is massive. He is on a big timer. I love that he microed that individual low HP Marine out of the medevac first, because it takes a second to unload everything. So we actually got it back up to full HP before the Stalkers could arrive. Lovely control here by Maru, but he is forced away because of those Stalkers. Blink is about, I want to say, half a minute, a little bit less, from finishing up. So that is going to give Hero a big power spike, but you can see that compared to the previous game, he's been pushed into a corner now, right? This changes up the entire dynamic. Rather than going into a Raven here, we're going to follow up the medevac with a Banshee, together with the cloaking upgrade. There is a shield battery inside of the main base, but not quite in a location where all of the probes can easily benefit from it. Reaper does go down. Medevac, though, has made its way back home, and, well, apparently we're going to send it across once more. Hero does get a glimpse right over there on the medevac, and that's big. Immediately sends the Stalkers back. Couple Stalkers here waiting. If you could snipe the medevac full of units, that is obviously massive. As we do now have, by the way, the Templar Archives here instead. Oh, Jimmy has been sent away. Jimmy, scout the base! Jimmy, go check out what's going on, man. We need to know if it's a Templar Archives, whether or not it could be something else. Okay, Cyclone gets sniped. In the meantime, even though these units seem to be able to slip away, Hero is absolutely lethal when it comes to that Stalker micro. Not really willing, though, to blink across that mineral field and put the blink on cooldown. Okay, Hero, did we not go for Storm? Are we just going Archons? Oh, that's a misplay. He probably assumed he already had it. Generally, you go for the upgrade before you warp in the High Templar. And that now means that he is not going to have those units available. I just checked the upgrades tab. I was like, wait, does he already have it? No, he does not already have it. He actually forgot to research here. Yeah, now forced to go into an Archon. Archon Zealot is really powerful, but he does not have charge either. So this is now going to be a very awkward setup. Maru immediately smells blood in the water. He recognizes that something is off here when he sees the Archon immediately. Maybe we should have kept the High Templar instead. So many workers are dying. We did see a lot of SCVs die on the other side of the map too. But this is once more Maru on a mission. Maru's so freaking dangerous again, man. At the beginning of the year, he was kind of struggling. Okay, we do have the Stalkers moving in here from the back. He does shove this Terran army off his lawn, it seems, but I mean, look at the supply count. Maru is pretty much well, doubling his opponent there, and now we have the Banshees just rubbing salt in the wound. Yeah, at the beginning of the year, Maru really didn't look like himself. But during this tournament, we already saw a little bit of it during the GSL Code S, but I think during this tournament, it became very apparent to everybody once more that the Maru of old is once more back. He looked like it too. Like, whenever you see the player cameras, it was pretty evident that Maru, was not here to play around and just have some fun. No, he was serious about potentially winning the entire event. Okay, well, this is a final all-in right now for Hero. Yeah, it's not gonna work. Okay, he gets the siege tank for his troubles. Congratulations, GG. Alrighty, and just like that, we already find ourselves on a match point, as we have made our way to the map Tokamak. So, Maru, honestly playing very good StarCraft, very impressive StarCraft. But I think that previous game was a result of the first game of the series. Hero clearly a little bit flustered after, well, giving up a massive advantage in game number 1. And that is something that we see time and time again, right? I think this proves, if you were ever in doubt, that pro gamers are human after all. Yeah. Believe it or not, the vast majority of pro gamers, I believe at the very least, they are human. And they have to deal with, like, these things called, like, emotions and, like, chemicals flooding your brain and stuff. Very annoying. Ever since I understood the weakness of my flesh, it has disgusted me. But it is what it is. Maybe one day, if we can replace all of those things with artificial body parts instead, we wouldn't ever be talking about that sort of thing anymore, but it is what it is. Hero needs to be able to re-grab himself, right? So it's not like he really played particularly poorly in the previous game, but that early game micro was just not quite as crisp. And then obviously the big blunder for getting the, well, Templar Archives research. He probably clicked on it, thought he started it, didn't have the resources for it, and then it never started, and he never got to, like, double check it. It's a small mistake that has very significant repercussions in the end. So let's see. Reaper goes around once more. Maru, by the way, looking rock solid in that previous game. Not really making any mistakes. And now he's got 3 attempts at obtaining the victory. Well, we don't have anything weird. Looks like once more it's a Cyclone into double Widowmine. Fair enough. Are we gonna go Tech Lab? We are going Tech Lab once more on the starport. We'll have to see if it's Raven or if it will be Banshee production instead. For now, we can only guess. Hallucinated Phoenix. I love this opener, by the way, for Protoss. I'm always a big fan of it. We don't seem to see it as much at this level. I mean, we see it quite a bit, but mostly common. It's a lot of macro Protosses, I guess, that are a big fan of the quick sentry opener, where you get that hallucination going nice and early. You can also just scout with your entire army, which seems to be what Hero prefers most of the time. Ooh, careful, 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 careful. Ooh, risky, man. Very risky. Hello, can we pull the probes? Why are we always waiting until the absolute last possible split second? Whew. Okay. It worked out okay. It's just that I've seen so many games, like I got flashbacks immediately to games that I saw like a decade ago, where Protoss is used to lose their entire mineral line to 2 Widowmines. It is a very easy loss, especially when you're 2-0 behind, right? And then you're never going to be able to forgive yourself if you are a hero going down 3-0 because you were late with the Widowmine pool. Anyway, a nice little bit of micro over here, though. Stalkers once more. Okay, getting some values. Ooh, okay. 2 of them have died, but he got some kills right over there, and it looks like it's enough damage here, too, to at the very least slow down the push from the Terran. Maru is cleverly just setting up shop over here in the middle of the map, protecting nothing. Hero not going to take the bait, though. He decides to go for the counterattack, and that is going to make everything extremely awkward here for the Terran, because he's got all those units. Rather than sending them home for the defense, he decides to send them back out. Little bit of supply depot micro here as we have the siege tank. Okay, micro against 2, and that one is going to get sniped immediately. There's no cloak. No cloak this time around as Hero decides to recall. Fair enough. Okay, third Nexus is up and running. Is there enough? Aggressive blink immediately. He decides to split the fire right there on the Stalkers. One little group onto the siege tank and then the other group onto that Banshee. And it looks like that was indeed the correct choice. That is what we used to see actually from Alpha Star when that was a thing back in the day. Medevac. Okay, lovely. Man, I love it whenever Protoss gets into this like flow where like all of the fights just seem to just barely connect. It's all of these tiny puzzle pieces that just barely fit together, and suddenly you find yourself in this spot over here. Now again, we have seen Hero lose from this spot. Oh, let's see. So, what we saw at the time in game number 1 was a Robo Bay together with a 4th Nexus. Now, this advantage is not as big as what we saw in, well, the first game of the series. It looks like Hero just wants to go for the same follow-up, at least with this probe moving on over here. He believes that he can get away with it once again. Banshee moves into the main base. Yeah, a lot of it obviously also comes down to the execution, right, of the actual engagement. We have 4 and 2 over here on the probes. Okay, a little bit of damage being done, not bad. Banshee actually getting in a bit of work. It was also, of course, responsible for the recall of those Stalkers. Okay. Okay. So, Hero's gonna go up to 9 gateways this time. A little bit odd. Literally. Generally, we see 10. Or 8. 9 feels, anyways, it's okay. Looks like he will be able to go for a 4th Nexus here momentarily, but he needs to be careful, right? So, Stimpack and Combat Shields are much quicker this time around compared to the first game of the series. There's one Stalker here successfully slowing down the entire advancement of the Terran army. Hero is trying to figure out if there is a 3rd base somewhere. He hasn't seen the 3rd command center. Maru once more, putting himself into like a 2-base all-in. I believe he's ready to once again pull the boys. This Zealot drop over here, though, is buying so much time. Hero is, well, obviously outmining his opponent at this point. If he can somehow, some way, okay, decides to recall, that's gotta happen. If he can somehow, some way buy enough time to get the Colossi out, he's got one of them already. Arranged is about 1/3 of the way done. Second one is about halfway done. I mean, if he can get that done by the time that the Terran gets across the map, are we gonna pull the boys? We're not gonna pull the boys. That almost surprises me now. We have only 2 command centers. He's already way oversaturated, like he made 50 workers. Okay, we are gonna send some of the boys. Yeah, okay. We are gonna send some of the SCVs, and obviously the idea behind it is just to have them tank some of the damage. His army is a little bit disjointed. He gets a Stalker, actually 2 Stalkers for his troubles. Hero starts up a 4th Nexus again. I wonder if we should just cancel it, man. It's so risky. He believes he might be able to, at the very least, use this as a giant meat shield and maybe bait the Terran in direction here of this expansion. Obviously, you can always just get the majority of his minerals back. He decides to commit, though. Zealots going in around the back. Siege tanks immediately get blinked on. The Colossi are not being targeted there by the Vikings, as the Stalkers are now targeting down the Vikings themselves. And this particular fight is way better. A couple more reinforcing units showing up here for Maru. Okay, still a risky one, though. Yeah, man, imagine just a handful more Zealots here. Okay, I think it's fine, GG. I don't know why Hero needs to cut it this close. It's so incredibly risky, but he gets the job done. Yeah, Protoss players at the absolute highest level, they like to cut it as close as they possibly can. Hero right there doing the StarCraft 2 equivalent of walking a tightrope while juggling a bunch of like flaming torches and being forced to like jump every 5 seconds. I don't know why. I don't think it's necessary. We really don't need to play it that close. You force it all in from the opponent and you're like, perfect, let's go for a 4th base and an additional bit of tech. Look, I like the commitment to the act. I do appreciate it, I truly do, but it sometimes feels like we're cutting it just a little bit too close. Either way, he got a point on the board. I love this, by the way. This little hexagon, there's a bunch of maps that now have pylon indicators on them. Basically, they show you the ideal position where you can build the first pylon over here on the low ground to be able to wall off. Hero is somebody who really needs that, man. Like, Hero has created the performative art when it comes to like walling off his natural expansion. It is, generally speaking, not his strongest play. He's very messy when it comes to that sort of thing. And then mapmakers put the perfect pylon indicator right over here. I mean, ultimately, obviously, he's very successful, so maybe he can just do whatever he likes, but I always do think it's kind of funny whenever pro gamers just blatantly ignore the perfect position for the first pylon on the low ground. Anyway, it's once more going to be a Cyclone start. Maru not really mixing it up a whole lot so far throughout these games. Maru, by the way, also really settling in, right, for those SCV pools. Just a lot of early game aggression. We haven't seen a single third command center yet throughout this series. Isn't that weird? Wait, did we have one in the first game? Like, that first game was like 15 minutes long. Maybe 20. I don't know. It was a pretty long game. Maru decides to now follow this up again with a good old Banshee. So we do have a single medevac with 2 Widow Mines inside of it going across. Let's see. This one has been unscouted. Maru's been faking some of those upgrades, trying to make sure that his opponent does not know. Drop. Drop. Cool. On Burrow. Burrow again. The idea here is to lose, or at the very least force the opponent to lose as much mining time here as possible. So if you look right over here at the income advantage, this peak over here is just because the probes weren't mining. It's going to stabilize again. But that is generally what we see when it comes to Widow Mine value in the earlier stages of the game of a high-level TVP in 2025. It has game-winning potential, and honestly, if you lose the medevac, you're actually in quite a bit of trouble. Alright, it's going to be a single Banshee followed up with a Raven. And Maru once more sending whatever he's got towards the other side of the map. This third Nexus here has been giving him a lot of, well, trouble. Hero sees it, though. I think actually Maru knows that he's been spotted as he loses the Banshee. Okay, a little bit sloppy. I think he must have seen the little shimmer, but maybe he didn't have a scan available or he didn't want to go ahead and waste it. So he decided to just go back home. Raven, of course, is coming up too, so he could always go back out and try to see if he can snipe it. Either way, Tech Lab is going to start up the Stimpeg research as Maru made a little bit of a trip out onto the map and then, well, marched his entire back home. I guess it's nice for morale, you know? When Jimmy and his pals are just standing at home right next to the structures, patrol duty may actually be preferable. We have the +1 coming up. Combat Shields also starts up, so this is, of course, that classic timing attack. Is okay. The Raven right there functioning as a detector. Widowmine gets the kill. So this is, of course, the Stimpack, the Combat Shields, the +1. It's all going to finish up right around the same time. Hero's got himself a third Nexus. He's going into Colossi once more. We have the ranged research. We have the +1 starting up for him too. Why are we thinking about building a fourth base? I mean, in this matchup, generally, it is, of course, the Protoss player who needs to be a base up. That is the nature of Terran versus Protoss. They need more economy. It's mostly because of the mules, right? The mules just mine a lot more resources, and Terrans obviously benefit from that tremendously. Being one base up, though, I mean, at this point, look, we have 62 workers versus 45. If we look at the income advantage, we are getting about, I want to say, like a 500 to 600 resource advantage a minute here as Protoss. So for every minute that goes by, he gets like a Colossus and a bunch of additional units for free. That's a lot. We really don't need to be making a fourth Nexus, although I guess maybe the idea about the fourth Nexus is just to create some urgency on the side rather of the Terran player. In my mind, though, it's a good idea to just warp in an extra round of Zealots and hope for the best. Charge, by the way, is not yet done. Would love to see a chrono boost on that, as once more Maru's going in. Here come the boys! Even though Maru is not really somebody who does this strategy a lot historically, we are just gonna go for a good old 2-base all-in as he loses the Raven before the fight really properly begins. Hero, by the way, has not started up the fourth Nexus. As he decides to engage his army out over here, he now realizes that he doesn't yet have charge. Very awkward. Can we please, yes, finish up those upgrades here first? Okay. I mean, this should be very holdable for the Protoss. Nice target firing, though, with those siege tanks. Siege tanks get rid of well, one of the Colossi pretty quickly. Lots of SCVs have died. Hero bought himself enough time to get another warp in. Second Colossus, or I guess the third Colossus, just about to spawn. Siege tanks are creeping further forward. Oh, he halted some of the charging there. A little bit of a disjointed engagement. Would love to see the Immortals there targeting down the siege tanks. But yeah, this is what these fights look like without a Fort Nexus. Hero absolutely shuts it down with ease. And that means it all comes down to this. Final game in this best of 5 series takes place on the map Ley Lines. Alright, so we've seen multiple variations of the same theme so far. Really, Maru? Now we're gonna go mix it up? Are we gonna go proxy? Oh, I think we are, yeah. Multiple SCVs are moving out onto the map. I didn't fast forward through the first couple minutes of the game because I figured, you know, this is the final match of the series, right? Let's go ahead and enjoy it in all its glory. That's very funny that now Maru decides to build a bunch of structures on the other side of the map. It is a ballsy play. If Hero sees it, I mean, life is going to be phenomenal for him. But I don't think he's been scouting a whole lot over the last couple games. So this series started off with Maru winning the first 2 maps and then Hero winning the, well, 3rd and the 4th. I really believe, oh, that game number 1 was in the bag for Hero, but he decided to be a little bit too greedy. He is going to send a probe out, though. Okay, yeah, it's not going to see enough. He checked out the left side of the map. This is like a 50-50 coin toss. He checked out the left side of the map, not checking out the right side. So he will go Cybercore before Nexus at the very least, but he needs to see that this is coming. He's gonna see right now, though, that there is a whole lot of nothing right over here. Just within, I think, the same moment that he started up the Nexus over here. He decides to double down. Zealot has already been building, by the way. It's a little bit of an awkward position over here, but I guess it's fine. Cybercore coming up. Marauder production is underway as we have a second tech lab. So Maru really is doubling down. He is willing to put it all on the line when it matters the most after losing 2 games back to back. Apparently not confident in playing a longer game, he's immediately going to commit. SCV is going to lead the charge. There is now double shield battery building, though, on the low ground here for Protoss. Keep in mind that the energy recharge is very powerful still. Maybe not as good as the shield battery overcharge, but certainly something to respect. Hero, are we going to build on any additional production? Yes, an extra gateway is a great idea. He just needs to get his units down. Now, this is going to be concussive shells. It basically adds a slow effect to every single auto attack of the Marauder. It's a very cheap upgrade. It doesn't take a whole lot of time either. So we can get it going here and immediately have it benefit every single one of these units. Now imagine if this would have been a Stargate, or we've had any sort of, well, early game production here for Hero. Hero is going to try and fight fire with fire. He does have that natural expansion right now done, and keep in mind, he can always pull some of those workers too. 3rd shield battery is here. Hero needs to deal with this army here, but it's not going to be easy, especially when the SCVs are coming across the map. Protoss, once more, invested into an extra expansion. Maru is here to go for a complete all-in. At this point, the SCV pool has not been scouted yet, but I think Hero has recognized that something fishy is going on. Here we go. It comes down mostly to the workers fighting one another. Probes are trying to use that, well, very slow line of fire rate right here for the Marauders, right? So the Stalkers are dying extremely rapidly, and I don't think that this is going particularly well here so far for Protoss, as we do have a sentry popping out. Okay, a couple force fields can change the tide of battle very quickly, but I don't know if a single Marauder has died yet at this point in time. Maru has been doing a great job. Okay, some nice force fields going down. A lot of probes have already died. SCVs are gone. 9 workers remain on the other side of the map, but again, the Mule, of course, will help out a ton. Ugh, I don't think it's enough. I don't think it's enough here for Hero. Man, you gotta hand it to Maru. Extremely impressive that he decides to go for a strategy like this at the last possible moment. Very unfortunate for Hero that he didn't see this coming in a little bit sooner. Ugh. The map was dark and full of Terrans. I mean, we're playing Ring Around the Rosie right now, but the concussive shells are never gonna run out. That sentry has been alive for longer than anything else here on the side of the Protoss. A bunch of workers still remain. A mule has now landed once more, well, inside of the main base of the Terran player, but with that pylon being killed, it's gonna shut down all of the production here for Hero. And I think that will seal the deal. Yeah. Great micro here by Maru. It is extremely easy for a Terran to still mess it up, right? Because you could commit to that fight a little bit too early or a little bit too late, and it would still be an advantage right there for the Protoss. But Maru ultimately, well, he microed that about as well as he could have. So game number 1. He grasped the win from the jaws of defeat. Like, I really don't think that game, if you play it out another, I don't know, 10 times or so from like the 10-minute mark, I really don't think that was ever really supposed to be a Terran win, but he got the job done. Game number 2 was pretty dominant. Game number 3 and 4, I think Hero really got a hang of the all-ins that Maru was going for, and then, well, apparently we ran out of at least 2 base all-ins, so Maru decided to go for a 1 base all-in to really get it done. Now, special shout out today to all of the big Patreon supporters. Also, of course, shout out as well to the ones over there in that scrolling list on the left side of your screen. But special shout out to Blue Hair, Grimdy, Beinsterk, Thort, Javot, Champ, Brusik, Patrick, Gavilan, Andy, Sysadmin, Light Switch, Lucas, Ballistical, Killman, Robert, Jacob, Echo Soldier. We have Rextor, Shren, Papuch, Agaring, Cranlore Strategist, Dustin, Nakul, and Doomhome as well. Now, if you want to be in the list, guess what? You can head on over to my Patreon. Thank you.